Paladins fans and even the president of Hi-Rez have been memeing about some of the similarities of Hero 27, Brigitte Lindholm in Overwatch and Ashe in Paladins. In my opinion, the similarities are much stronger on paper than in practice, with Brigitte feeling more like playing a paladin or knight in a hack and slash game. But I'm here today to answer the real, hard-hitting and important question: who would win in a 1 versus 1 ultimate fight to the death? Ashe, Paladin's cannon-wielding frontline champion, referred to as a Magistrate's war machine, or Brigitte, Overwatch's latest flail-wielding support hero and Reinhardt's squire, mechanic cum adventurer. First up, a look at each character's main weapon in their arsenal. Brigitte's weapon of choice is a rocket flail, a melee weapon that extends out and whips around in front of her with a relatively large arc, dishing out the pain up to 6 meters in front of her. Comparing damage between the two realms is difficult, but she definitely packs a decent punch, being able to swing every 0.6 seconds. Being a melee weapon, there is no reload, and the weapon never seems to run out of rocket fuel. Her trump card in a 1v1 scenario is that these attacks will passively heal her for 16 health per second for 5 seconds through an innate ability, Inspire. This also refreshes on successive blows of your flail. In context, it is just under a third of a total health pool over each hit's duration. It does not stack, but gives a staying power and a larger effective health pool in battle. Ashe wields a burst cannon which fires out spiked shrapnel rounds that explode in a flak blast after reaching 80 units, roughly around 15 or so meters. Bear in mind, Paladins doesn't use real life measurements like Overwatch, but 50 units seems about the same as a 10 meter mark in the Overwatch training arena. Also, she has a low rate of fire at 0.9 seconds between shots, added onto a low single shot damage, meaning that in the realm she is one of the lowest DPS of all champions. Add to that, restocking all of the cannonballs in the chamber is also a lengthy process, leaving Ashe with a hefty reload of 1.5 seconds. Ashe's trump card here is that Paladins get to go into battle with a kit editing loadout, and Slugshot is a talent card here which she chooses one of 4, which increases her weapon's range by 50% and also increases her damage whilst losing that flak explosion. Even without the explosion, the projectile is very large and easy to secure a hit. Ultimately, Ashe's cannon has around 4 times the reach of Brigitte's rocket flail. In this first round, out of sheer brutal impact, DPS, sustainability and the lack of reload, Brigitte flails a win. But Ashe's range is nothing to be sneered at, and we'll touch on that later in the arena category. What about each champion's vitality? Each has a suit of power armor, but which one can take the most beating? Ashe has 4,900 health points, the highest raw health pool out of all the champions in Paladins. It is over 2.5 times the size of the lowest HP champion Eevee, making her one of the most steadfast champions in the realm, only falling short of Torvald, who has 300 higher, including his personal shield. Brigitte, on the other hand, has 200 health points and 50 armor. At 250 effective health, she has half the base vitality of some of the bigger tanks like Reinhardt and Winston, though she is almost twice as tanky as Tracer, the hero with the lowest at 150. Though with her passive heals, when hitting an enemy, her health pool could be considered effectively higher. In this category, Ashe takes the victory, being the second most tanky of all Paladins champions, and her power armor just proves that little bit stronger. Next up, how much utility do each of these powerhouses have in their abilities? I'll try to compare the closest abilities to each other in each of their kits. First up, Whip Shot. Brigitte can throw out her flail on a chain up to 20 meters, dealing double the damage of a normal strike. It also knocks enemies back around 5 to 10 meters. She can also use this ability often with a low cooldown of 4 seconds. This could be the only way for her to reach out and flail the Ashe that's trying to run away, and one big bonus is it will activate Inspire, giving her some heal the Ashe will not get. The downside for Brigitte is that knocking Ashe backwards will only benefit the Ashe, with a much greater engagement distance with their normal attacks. Plus the duration the chain is out will also slow the Brigitte, which is 1 second at its max distance. On the other hand, Ashe has the ability to kinetic burst, exhausting her weapon's fuel and knocking enemies back in front of her around 15 meters. The 2 big advantages here: it will toss Brigitte over twice her main attack range, and it does not require more precise aim like the Whip Shot. Negatively, it takes 1 second to effectively charge up and activate. With a low damage of 300 on a hit, there's also sacrificing her DPS. It also has a bigger cooldown of 6 seconds, but this can be lowered with the loadout card Castle Forged to 4 seconds or even lower slightly. Next up are the two champion shields. Brigitte has a 600 health shield, which on its own is larger than the bigger tank's health balls in Overwatch. It covers her from the front completely. Once broken, the shield takes 3 seconds to withdraw, but will regenerate after 2 seconds once putting down at 100 health per second. A big advantage of this shield is it can be withdrawn between melee strikes like Reinhardt's, allowing it to block and attack simultaneously. And a massive advantage here is that it will block this Ashe's kinetic burst. And with a 1 second charge up on that kinetic burst that is visible like pulling on an exhaust, it would be easy to block in time, bringing up her shield. The downside here is Brigitte's movement speed will be slowed whilst using it, allowing the Ashe to keep a safe distance and keep firing on her. Ashe, on the other hand, has her C shield, and it's almost not worth talking about, as apart from the whip shot, her abilities and main attack pierce through shields, so the Ashe is a little bit screwed there. Even then, it's difficult to use the Ashe shield as it will roll forwards, so the Ashe will have to turn around and let it roll towards her if she wants to keep the distance between her and Brigitte. On the topic of useless abilities, Brigitte's repair pack, which heals or gives full health allies armor, is also pretty useless here. Brigitte has another ace up her sleeve with her shield, and that is Shield Bash. When her shield is up, she can dash forward 6 meters, and if making contact with an enemy, bonk them into a stun for 1 second. This has a short cooldown of 5 seconds and can be used whilst defending behind the shield, and also would interrupt a lot of Ashe's abilities that need time to activate. Plus, it deals 50 damage and can be used in quick succession with another flail strike. Brigitte can 3-shot a Tracer with the incredibly deadly combo Shield Bash, Flail and Whiplash. In comparison, because of the time to activate, Ashe has nowhere near this damage potential with abilities, and can only just about 4-shot an Eevee with normal attacks with the Slugshot legendary, and 5 if not. Ashe also disruptively has a Shoulder Bash. This will launch Ashe forwards around 28 meters or 140 units, and if she comes into contact with an enemy, it will launch them back about 15 meters and deal 800 damage, which is double her normal attack, but also takes 1 second to fully activate. The biggest advantage here is it will go through the shield and hit Brigitte unlike the kinetic burst, so it can't be dodged if they insist in blocking her path. It does have a whopping 17-second cooldown base, but with the trusty loadout card, Gatecrasher could be as low as 13 seconds max. Even without this card, if the Ashe was allowed to charge away, she'd be able to keep ahead of the Brigitte between their cooldowns with their Shield Bash to chase her. Even if she hit the Brigitte on the way and knocked her back 15 meters instead, the Brigitte would still need to use 2 dashes to come into damage range. It is hard to judge the movement speed of a hero to a champion, but they do seem to move at relatively similar speeds, so that is one of my assumptions here. But slows from the shields and whips will also add to that gap. Overall, it's a bit of a dead heat with the utility. Both champions have an almost dead ability, but Brigitte has loads of damage, but Ashe has loads of ways to keep the distance between the two. Now we've heard the argument for each champion's normal abilities. What about their ultimates? That is, if the onslaught between the two combatants lasted long enough for them to get them off. Brigitte has Rally, overcharging her and passively granting 30 armor per second up to 150 armor for 10 seconds. Added to the Inspire healing, she can potentially be rather unstoppable. It also, all importantly, allows Brigitte to move faster and have a hope of actually catching up with the Ashe. Ashe's ult is Assert Dominance. She jumps in and slams down, knocking back enemies a few meters, and becomes immune in the zone in around 15 meters wide. It lasts for a painful 8 seconds, and Brigitte will have a very hard time to knock the Ashe out of the area due to how large it is, but also could potentially be a trap to get the Ashe to actually stay still, and in range perhaps getting a stun in just as it is over. But the Ashe can still use all of her abilities while she is in this area. Again, I'd say these are pretty much in a dead heat. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, the size of the battleground has a huge impact. So, would the arena decide the winner? In a dojo-sized arena, with Brigitte's self-heal, shield, stuns, and DPS potential, she would likely be able to break down Ashe's heavier power armor and take the title of champion, with no easy way for the Ashe to escape or keep the unrelenting flail strikes away from her. In a Roman Colosseum-sized arena, it'd be harder to guess. Think the size of the Gladiators arena, the film. Given free roam of an open arena, Ashe would most likely come out on top, just about being able to keep her distance and whittle down the Brigitte from afar, not allowing them respite to heal up or get in their own blows. Similarly, in either of the Overwatch or Paladins maps, Ash would likely be able to keep a distance, bide her time, but it would be a lot closer with obstacles allowing Brigitte to occasionally get the drop on Ash, as the Ash would have to move around to try and get line of sight or bring the Brigitte out of cover. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, who would win atop a duel on a cliff, or perhaps a very high up bridge with a fall to their death? Well, I think Brigitte takes it here, because, well, they don't have a delay on their knockback and will be able to quickly shield bash the Ash to their doom. Obviously, with all this theory, there's some big holes. A, what about passive healing that Paladins has? So if you get out of combat, you start healing. Ash would be at an even bigger advantage right there. But for this video, I was mainly assuming that there wasn't any. Also, it's science versus magic for the most part here. And Brigitte's weapon is powered by a rocket, whereas Ash is sort of pseudoscience and maybe some magic tossed in there. But I mean, she is firing big explosive spiky balls at people, and Brigitte's kind of just whacking people around with a big flail. Anyway, be sure to let me know what you all think about this Realm Rumble. Do you think the methodology was spot on, or was it inherently flawed? And if you want to see more, well, you can let me know in the comments section below. Next time, we'll have Roadhog versus Makoa. Just kidding. Well, actually maybe, though probably not. Anyway, if you thought this video was entertaining, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more of my content, and hit that bell icon to become part of the notification squad. Till next time, everybody, thanks for watching. Joshino.